Hey guys.
Go on.
Alright, hi guys. Wrapping up on our long drive home after the Chicago Midwinter Armizare Tournament 2020. We have had lots of thoughts, discussions about it already. The tournament itself was yesterday, consisting of 3 tournaments. We had sword in one hand, and then after that was long sword, and then after that was offhand, meaning a sword in your one hand and something in your offhand, a shield, a buckler, a dagger,
Rotella,
and lots of other cool things. So thought we'd share our ride back with you so we can share our thoughts with you. We also have some viewer submitted questions that hopefully we'll get to today. If not, we'll get to it next time we do one of these. Nothing like truck stop soda. So I guess let's get started. So what about this was your first tournament? What are your thoughts?
Can I get your attention for 1 second? What is that?
Okay.
Wait, the SWM team. Yeah, no.
Can I get your attention?
Thank you for your attention. I don't know what that is.
Thank you for your attention. Okay, you're welcome. What's that?
That is all. Cool. Shout out to you.
Shout out, buddy.
Oh, all right. I love it. Anyway.
Cool. So chat works. Thank you for the
Chat
pass.
works. Yes, thank you.
All right. So overall, not talking about specifics.
Mm-hmm.
Was this tournament what you expected?
Yes and no. Let's see. I expected less rapiers. I expected at least one Dusak. I didn't see any.
I think Adam already had Dusak.
Did he? I thought he had something longer, but I'm not sure. So there was that. I was kind of surprised that someone else brought messers.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of messers. That was cool.
Hello.
Hello.
Let's see. I forgot how long rapiers were.
Rapiers. Oh my god.
Oh, okay. I will say this about the tournament. What I liked, it flowed really well. People were on the ball. You did not wait long to find out when your match was. It was, okay, match is over. Here's who's next. Here's on deck. Very well run tournament. I like the rule set a lot of the 5 bouts. Doesn't matter who wins. It's not to like 5 points. It's 5 bouts.
Yeah, there was no point, so I want to make sure that was clear too while we're on it.
Well, everything was one.
It wasn't like, everything was one. Head, torso, arm, leg, everything was 1 point, which is pretty cool.
Doubles counted as 2 bouts because you both landed hit, and you would get -1 point, each of you, because at the end you would combine how many points you got in each fight. You would get -1 point to you for each double, except if it was in the same bout. You wouldn't get minus more points if it was a double in the same bout. You can only lose up to 1 point per bout.
The video is shaking.
Oh, man.
Can we it's kind of on a suction cup little arm on our window.
Yeah, let me see if I can put some in it.
Shove something underneath it so it kind of sits.
It's probably going to shake it.
That's a little better.
That's better. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, cool. That I don't know if that's a good angle, but whatever.
What's the angle they're getting?
That's all you're getting.
Sorry.
Enjoy it.
Alright. I will say this. I've seen swordfish fights.
The big international.
The very sporty. The finals we saw, especially in longsword, all of them actually, were beautiful technique. It wasn't like this sportified, I'm going to hit you just, in the head and get hit in the hand, so I technically get 2 points. It was, you need to be defensive so that you don't get a double and lose, and offensive enough where the match doesn't just stand there for a second. We saw a few matches where it was a good 10 seconds before someone did anything, but people they had great technique. It was some beautiful stuff. I have not seen that kind of fencing before.
It was a lot of fun. And there were some scary parts.
Yeah.
My first real, I don't want to say scary for stage fright or anything like that. It's so distracting.
Sorry. course. That was a distraction. I can take it.
What if we put it like?
It's still
Can
shaking.
you put it behind the arm rather than behind the phone?
Not really, because it don't fit. It's like, is it the road that's distracting you?
No,
You should pay attention to the road.
It's just, I know. Fine, I'll pay attention to the road.
All right.
You gotta pay attention to Chad.
worse.
Make sure that Chad has nothing special going on.
All right. All right. How was that? Is it? What are you doing?
Better. That's better.
All right. So that's the best I can do.
Okay.
I'm pointing towards you more though. There. All right.
Okay.
Oh yes, the scary parts of the tournament.
Okay, so for me, the first scary part that wasn't just like stage combat or worrying about my technique or anything was in the pit next to us, or the ring next to us. These two guys, they must have known each other because they were wearing similar outfits. It was a very non-HEMA outfit. They had the metal medieval masks with the perforated plates and armor on their shoulders, their elbows, and their hands, and they had very medieval-looking gambesons. And all of a sudden, I hear this huge, loud crash,
Yeah.
and I look, and they literally like WWE table slammed onto the judges' table, and just like spilled coffee everywhere. Total disregard for safety or other people watching, and that was just like, oh.
There wasn't much room though in those tournaments. In that tournament, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah.
I will kind of say that everybody was okay. The scariest to me was the person who got hit and was bleeding. Like the medics, they called the medics over. I think from what I heard, was it a gash on the forehead?
I heard a lot of stories. There was rumors going real fast.
There was blood. I remember they were wiping it off the.
Yeah, they were wiping something up. I didn't see anything red, but
or maybe it was
I was pretty far away.
They stopped the match, and I thought I heard there was some blood. Like maybe she got hit on the mask too hard and it cut her somehow. I'm not sure, but she seemed to be okay. Like they didn't rush her to the hospital or anything, which is good. I heard someone got heat exhaustion.
What is he saying?
What are you talking about? Real fight, not game?
Oh, yeah, we're coming back from a tournament, like a historical swordsmanship tournament.
So if you Google HEMA, HEMA, you'll get it. It's like fencing, but a little bit
cooler.
Yeah, kind of cooler. Where we use, well, there's the long sword, like the two-handed that you see knights use. There's the rapier, the thin, flashy ones that you poke people with, and then other stuff. So.
And I'll be posting the videos of the tournament to the YouTube channel, The Poor Historian, so you can see the actual tournament itself, at least as much as I could record.
Mm-hmm. It was very, very fun. Yeah, so we're giving our thoughts on the tournament.
Yeah.
So, it was that. I heard Shane had said something about someone had gotten heat exhaustion.
Yeah. Broken thumb.
Broken thumb.
Yeah, that's one of the guys from Michigan.
Ars Gladi, maybe?
Yeah, it was an Ars Gladi guy.
Oh,
it was Jordan Pigeon.
That.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
So, yeah, there was a lot of injuries, and that was different because I heard last year, we were not there last year, but last year I heard that there were no injuries, and it went off flawlessly, and there were just so many this year.
That's unfortunate.
And I think that's just luck of the dice.
Probably that. It could be gear.
It could be gear, it could be differences in how clubs spar. You know, there are some people who fight mostly with SCA style rules, which are very light. And then there are those other guys that I mentioned earlier with the metal everything that probably took a little bit of Bohertz or HMB influence. So, you know, it just changes based on who's there.
Where was it? Chicago, Illinois.
Yep, that's where we're driving back
Yep,
from.
the Armizare.
Chicago Midwinter Armizare 2020, hosted by Forteza Fitness and Swordsmanship. And shout out to those guys, because they were fantastic.
Yes, I will say, excellent sportsmanship. People calling hits on themselves, saying the opponent hit me here, even if the judges didn't see it. So.
All right, so before we dive into like actual specifics about how we fought in the specific swordsmanship tournaments, was there anything that you were expecting that a tournament would be or would have or would include that was not there? Or how is this different from your expectations?
How's it different? It's like, to answer this question, where you go? What do you mean, where you go? Are we going, or where did we go?
We're going back home to Grand Rapids right now.
We're going back home to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yep. So, I expected more space. Do you have snow in Chicago?
It was
normally. No, there wasn't really much snow.
It rained on our drive up here. I think we've got another live stream on our archives of us driving up here and sharing our thoughts, and it was just raining the whole time. But now it's got a little bit of flurries, but it's still, I can see the grass and the ground out here, which is unusual. Should clarify that. Okay, I'm sorry. What were you saying about the differences?
I expected more space, I guess, for when you're not fighting. I would expect you to be further away from the mats.
Oh yeah.
I think that makes it slower, but you're right there, which kind of sped things up. I mean, I didn't really have much expectations. What about you?
Yeah, because this was my first time at this particular tournament. It flowed decently well. I was really... They had very good speakers, but some of the people that they had stating important things, like which fighter was in which list, was very quiet. So there was a few times where I wasn't expecting to be like, what the heck's going on? I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Am I fighting now?
Yeah.
And the other thing I didn't like was they were just like, yeah, toss your gear around the corners of the room. Just find a spot. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh.
I like that it's nearby, but yeah.
It turned into just a mess of bags and swords that you kind of have to tiptoe around.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
There was a larger amount of people there too. I thought.
Do you buy your equipment, sword, armor, or make it by self?
Ah.
Some people made their own.
Yeah, one guy made his own, and a few pieces of armor looked handmade too.
Yep, we buy ours. You kind of modified yours.
Yeah.
We buy it. They had an armory vendor representative from Purple Heart Armory.
I love those guys.
Yeah, they were at the tournament selling some of their swords and stuff. They had knives, classic, sparring safe knives there that you could purchase if you wanted a knife. You can have a dagger like in your waist during the tournament. So if you get disarmed, if your sword gets disarmed, you can pull out the dagger and do that. We personally buy all of our stuff because the heavy padded stuff, like you wear a fencing mask. I don't know how to make a fencing mask myself.
Yeah. So. I mean, there's people who've made the steel helmets with the perforated sheets in the front, but man, you gotta have some skills with that to make sure it's safe. So to clarify the inevitable question, with HEMA, you are using steel swords that are dull. They're not sharp because you'll kill someone. And the other thing is when you stab at someone, the swords are like spring steel, so they'll kind of flex so that you're not actually like puncturing or breaking ribs. Nonetheless, it still hurts like freaking crazy.
It can, yeah.
I got a nasty shot to my calf. That's still hurting, and I got another one up here that's going to be a really sexy bruise in a little bit.
Yep.
So it can be dangerous, fairly dangerous, especially because we were just talking about how many injuries there were at this one. But the point of it, the whole point of historical swordsmanship, HEMA, historical European martial arts, is to take the manuals that have survived for centuries and recreate those techniques in a modern setting. So we're learning swordsmanship and practicing swordsmanship from a time when swordsmanship was a legitimate life or death skill.
I had a real saber. I know it's flexy. He says. Also, hi Alex. Yes, Jerry did get his mask ripped off. We'll go over that.
I did get my mask ripped off.
And it's on. We
How
got
do you
it on
know
video.
that?
He heard it. He probably heard it from like Rob or something.
Oh, jeez, yeah. I've got my mask was. I went to grappling with one of the instructors who does Lichtenauer, and he just got me around the. He thought it was my neck, but I think he just grabbed my mask and just tore it off. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh!
Everyone kind of like, well, they stopped the match. It was great. I thought that's a great way to escape a grapple. They're gonna stop the match. They're not gonna, fight. But like, he really whipped it. Like he had his back turned to you, and I think he looked down like, what?
What?
That was funny. Yeah.
So that was hilarious.
That was great.
Yeah, shoot me a message if you want some information about your saber or how to get into HEMA. Shoot me a message.
He specializes in saber.
Oh yeah, saber's my specialty, man.
They didn't allow saber at this tournament because it had to be weapons before 1600 or before the year. And saber's much later. I mean, you can make arguments like Polish saber or something, but
so hit me up with dude Jerry for History. So that's JERRY, the number 4, and then the word history at gmail.com. If you're curious about identifying the saber or how to get into this stuff, I'll be happy to shoot some information your way.
definitely look up HEMA. The HEMA Alliance, I believe, has a club finder, like a map. You type in your city, and it'll say what's closest to you.
Yep. So it's totally a ton of fun. So the one other thing I didn't expect, but I guess I should have expected, was there seemed to be. I go to tournaments not like intending to win. I mean, if I do well, good for me. But there seemed to be a lot of like informality. Like the people who are hosting the club seem to have friends, and they all knew each other, and were talking about it on each other by first name basis in a professional setting. So like they'd be like, "All right, next up, you've got John Smith, and then Cuddles." You know, like I don't know, Cuddles. What is it?
Scooter.
Scooter, that was his name. Yeah. Cool guy. Actually, I think he was one of the final victors.
I think he won the
the sword and buckler. He won longsword, yeah, but he came in second with the So.
Just gonna say.
Welcome to Michigan! Yay! We're in Michigan! Yay!
Nice. Yuri Petrov. I found it in a field, the saber. It was right in the ground. I removed rust, made a new handle, and sharpened it. It has a red army sign on it. I guess it's from 1917.
Hey, that's pretty cool, man.
You should got the Military and Classical Saber page on Facebook.
Yeah, there's a Facebook page called Military and Classical Saber. Love it. Very friendly community. And they'd be very happy to share their thoughts on that sword if you take some pictures and post it there too. All right, so let's dive into the actual tournaments. There were 3 of them there: sword in one hand, long sword, and one-handed sword with offhand. So that was like a sword with a dagger or a shield or a buckler or something. And we're going in order. The first one was sword in one hand, and we practiced a very unique style of swordsmanship for months in preparation for this. It's called a Messer. It's an old German one-handed like knife. And the thing that's unique about it is it has a little third cross guard that kind of comes down and protects your wrist. So it's like a normal cross cruciform sword, but only sharp on one side. And it has, you want to grab one and kind of show them? Are you able to reach it?
I think so.
You can do it. You can get it. I believe in you.
Ah, it's gone.
No, it's gone?
No, it's caught.
It's caught.
Oh my god.
Let me do it. I can do it. I got long hands.
No, you're driving.
I'll be safe.
You're driving.
Okay. There it is.
No.
Oh, it's coming apart.
Oh.
We made a little modification to it before the tournament by adding leather cording to it to widen the grip. So.
Good thing this happened after the tournament.
But yeah, why don't you show them the cross guard real quick so they know what there. See how it has an extra little third cross guard covering it? So it's kind of neat. It leads to some really cool techniques. And we were practicing those techniques a ton.
Oh, you had to sell the saber. Not allowed to keep it legally. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Cool find, though. That's really nice. So we're practicing these techniques of old manuals, one written by a guy named Paulus Kahl, another guy written by the name of Hans Talhofer. Both of them are kind of late 1400s Germany, more or less, from where their techniques originated from. Very cool stuff, in my opinion. Very fun. So my first note on the one-handed tournament was that we probably were one of the very few people not using rapiers or side swords, but they were still very long.
Long side swords are basically
swords.
rapiers.
Yeah. There was probably 3 or 4 other people using messers and maybe one or two, probably just one using a Dusick.
I did also see like a short side sword.
Oh yeah, they're like arming swords.
Probably, yeah, like an arming sword.
Like a knight sword, like an old medieval sword. There are a few of those. That was cool. And that was cool. It was cool, but unfortunately, rapier just it's so popular, so ludicrously popular that like it has range on us. It has like a foot extra of steel on it compared to our sword.
Yeah.
And so we're at a huge disadvantage with it, despite practicing all of our techniques for getting around that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts?
And I know a rapier technically, I mean, we can whack it aside a little bit easier, but at the same time, when it thrusts at you, it's really hard to have the reflexes. But we knew that going into it. We chose Messer for the historical significance and stuff. So
and the techniques were fun.
Techniques were fun. It was fun training. I have no regrets. I'd rather pick up Messer than try and quickly learn rapier and to try and win. I'm happy with Messer.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
I think it really forced me to be aggressive and go side to side and really try stuff. And I don't know. I think maybe people kind of like, oh wow, they're using Messers. That's something. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, those guys are
They're
not...
probably too poor to buy a rapier.
Because it was a peasant weapon historically.
It's probably cheaper than some of the rapiers out there.
You're right. I haven't really seen a rapier. I mean, there's some Messer replicas that are pretty expensive too. Yeah. The Landsknecht Emporium ones are just like,
oh gosh.
I got rent to pay. Okay. But yeah, it was still a lot of fun. Even though we went in knowing we had a disadvantage, but that made it good because any wins that we got were
extra special.
Yeah, they were like, yeah.
I know, any point I got, it's like, whoa.
All right.
So everybody watched, did everybody see that? But,
that was cool. What's Raptor got up there?
So you think rapier was super popular because traditional fencers are starting to participate in HEMA, or just because it's the more popular weapon in general? I would think both. I think there are a lot of fencers getting into HEMA. I think also for tournament, there's a lot of manuals on rapier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on rapier. Meyer teaches rapier.
Everyone teaches rapier.
Everyone teaches rapier. They're cool looking.
They're cool looking.
They're cool looking, and they have that reach advantage.
I think it's more of a cultural stigma too. Like, name another one-handed sword that has an actual name that isn't just sword.
An arming sword or something. That's true.
Yeah, like, rapier, you got saber, and maybe scimitar, maybe cutlass, but none of the other one. A Dusick? Who knew what a Dusick was before getting into HEMA or a Messer?
Rapiers are readily available. It's harder to find a steel Dusick, I think. A sparring safe steel Dusick than it is a rapier. I mean, rapiers are easy to make flex.
Thin blades and all that fun stuff.
But I would say for the reason they're popular in tournament, and we'll talk about this when we do Sword and Companion, they have that reach advantage.
Yeah, that reach.
I don't know if any small swords smaller than the size of our Messers made it to finals.
No, they didn't.
No, it was all rapier. It's fine. So I think that's part of the reason they're popular at tournaments. That tournament.
Yeah, the SCA also has similar rapier fencing, kind of how longsword is kind of the standard weapon in the HEMA world, and then you can kind of, after you get that, you kind of spread out into other ones. In the SCA, which is another fairly popular medieval-ish, fighting-ish subculture, you start with rapier and then spread into other things. So that it kind of has that stigma with it also. That's just my thought. There were a couple fights that I had fun with Messer.
We fought the first. Sorry. Oh gosh. Calm down. He and I fought. Our first match of the tournament was against each other, so that was great. We were the only ones in our pool that had Messer. Everyone else had rapier or a rapier-ish side sword.
It's not a rapier. It's a side sword.
Yeah. I mean, they're right, but
okay.
And then we saw, I think, the pool next to us.
There are at least two Messers.
Two Messers, and maybe like
arming
sword.
Yeah.
But, so we got stuck with that, which I mean, again, we knew going in we were going to be at a disadvantage, but that's okay. I'm really glad. I think we had a good fight. I don't think we got it on video.
We didn't get it on video unless I dig it out on one of my...
But I mean, we mess with fight all the time, so...
Yeah.
I like that it was our first.
It was very cool that Natalie and I fought. That was the only time we fought during the tournament, and it was our first fight. And I think what it did was it kind of cooled our nerves. Because it's intimidating. You go into this big room of like 60 fencers with tons of different weapons and all levels of skill that you have no idea what they practice or how they fight.
Oh, yeah.
And then you gotta like fight them out of nowhere with the new rule set. It's intimidating.
Yeah, you're fighting strangers.
And then Natalie and I get called as the first people that we fight in the entire tournament. It's like, all right,
yes,
let's do it.
I think our match was pretty interesting too, because the rapiers, they're kind of, you know, whack. Okay, got it.
Rapiers are not, they're not a complex. Just make sure you stab faster than they can move.
Well, there were some good bouts. There were some very good bouts, kind of towards the end. I think as finals, but I think Jared, I think we had the most back and forth of the first 3 matches in our pool, at least.
We also know how we fight, so I know what to. I think we both know what to expect from the other one, what's coming.
I will say the good thing about Messer against Rapier, it makes you have good reflexes because you have to block them.
I went against a combatant from Grand Rapids that I've known for since nearly when I got started, so probably 7 or 8 years, named Cam, and he's always been a very good fighter. He's won. He's come in first place with sword tournaments and stuff. So that was really nice that I was able to fight him because I was kind of curious how it would go. Of course, he is not only a more skilled swordsman, but he also had a rapier. So I at least got, I think I got 2 hits out of the 5 on him.
Nice.
One of them, it was like cut straight down his chest. And I went up to him after the fight and I was like, look, I think that cut down your chest was a little light. I don't think they would have counted. And he was like, nope, dude, don't worry about it. You have a Messer, I had a rapier. Even if it was a light cut, you deserve it because you got that far with it.
That's impressive.
I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I appreciate it.
I think it's going to help us both in any weapon because it teaches us not to be aggressive. It helps your reflexes. It makes you think, how can I outwit this person? How can I trick them to like maybe feint, like do a feint, get their arm out here that I can take it? Because you can't just rush in. They can hit you way before you can hit them, so you have to really think and try and outsmart them.
And, you know, we were practicing these techniques with a Messer beforehand, and I was thinking, how are we going to use these in the tournament? And I found myself not doing it that often. And, you know, there are the ones where you block, so you cross that way, and then you kind of twist your sword around.
Yeah.
I think I did one against you, actually.
Oh, cool. I was going to say, those manuals teach Messer against Messer, not Rapier, too, which is fine.
But one I did use, and I think you used it too, we kind of shared thoughts after the fights. The one where you put it on your arm like that was helpful against rapiers because
not for me. I ran straight into a thrust, but that's okay. Again, I had a lot of people who did low. I think I did in buckler though.
Yes.
But yes. Yeah. But you go on. You found success with that.
Only a couple times, but I think it threw them off because
it's a weird technique. You don't see that anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of the manuals we learned, the sword is being held low and the blade up, like in standard style. And you work around that. But the rapiers, because they're pokey, they hold their hand high and their blade goes low. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, oh shit, or shoot, this isn't working with any of our techniques that we learned. What are we supposed to do? And I think the counter that was do that one, because that seemed to help it.
You need to have good because if they, a lot of times they'll like swing. If they swing, that's relatively easy to block. It's when they thrust, it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, the thrusting was like,
Yep, the thrusting was the thing I had difficulty overcoming, but that's okay.
So we had good fights with one-handed. And of course, if you guys have any questions about it, I'd love to keep the conversation going. But we'll also talk about the next tournament.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts on one-handed?
Jared and I were talking. It would be great to have a tournament where the stipulation is one-handed weapons, but they must be
shorter.
short.
Yeah.
Like you can't have a rapier. That would give people the chance to use like a sickle, a messer, a dewsack.
Yeah.
Use weapons that you probably wouldn't be brave enough to use in another tournament.
Right.
Something, and then like I'd let people borrow, you know. Oh, we were thinking maybe plastic. I'd be like, yeah, you can take my 3-bar saber for this fight. Something like super casual, too. Maybe like a meet-up with a little for funsies tournament. But, yeah, let's go into the longsword.
Okay, cool.
Where Jerry got his head ripped off.
Oh, Jesus. So, yeah, longsword. This was something Natalie and I both got our start with longsword. We're both fairly knowledgeable on it. We do our own independent practice and then also sparring practice and interpretation. We mostly use the techniques of a guy called Joachim Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R. About 1570 was when he wrote his manual. It's a very in-depth manual. Sometimes a little less specific than you'd like, but nonetheless the foundational fundamentals are there, and a lot of advanced techniques. And I think that's what we were using. But there was also the host club for Teza Fitness. They teach the kind of alternative path in terms of popular longsword schools. They teach Italian, which was also pretty fascinating. They were doing some unique stuff that I didn't expect.
I'm going to say, just another question, something a bit off topic. Were there any weapon/armor manufactions? Seems like a lot of people get hurt or malfunctions. You had the little bit of leather come off your finger tip.
Oh, I just super glued some leather onto my gloves, which are not within distance, and just one of the leather I super glued on there kind of popped off.
I didn't see any real gear.
There was a rapier that kept getting a bend or a set.
Oh yeah,
in the blade.
I think he made it to finals too.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think they won maybe the rapier buckler or something.
Yeah.
Or just double rapier.
I didn't see any gear malfunctions. I mean, arguably a guy's thumb got broken, but I think that was just it hit between some of the plates.
Maybe, yeah.
My mask coming off, you could argue, was a malfunction, but I don't know.
Yeah,
if that counts.
The strap on the inside of my mask kept kind of coming loose, but
nothing serious, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
No broken swords or anything like that. Usually, if a sword breaks, that's pretty well known. Like usually, that news gets spread pretty regularly.
A lot of tips came off weapons.
Oh yeah, little rubber tips that.
Did the tournament have tape there?
Yeah, they kept duct taping them back on, which is fine. Yeah, minor stuff. Nothing to worry about with that.
Yep, and like the one injury was like a heat exhaustion.
Yeah, one of the injuries. Yeah.
You know, heat exhaustion. One guy pulled a muscle real bad, but I think he got hit, but it also pulled a tendon somehow.
Oh, Shane? Yeah. He hyperextended something.
Oh yeah.
And that tore a muscle in his forearm because he hyperextended his fingers or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I saw it was ready in ice, and I'm like,
gross.
First I thought it broke his arm, but luckily that was not the case.
Yeah.
The guy who broke his thumb, he said it's probably broken. Hopefully
he
it's
said he was
not.
going. I looked at his Facebook status. He said he was going to the hospital today. So
okay,
we'll see.
Hopefully that's not broken. Or it's not too bad. But
while we're on the topic of gear, another thing I didn't expect, there were a lot of historical gambesons there.
Oh yeah.
And I was freaking out beforehand. I mean, I even have a YouTube video that I was posting about. Saying that I wanted to get historical gambeson, but I was hesitant because it wasn't puncture resistant, and a lot of tournaments require that. Lo and behold, that's not the case. You know, there were so many historical gambesons out there that were not, modern HEMA. You know, they were all historical. I was wearing my historical one too, and I was. This was the first time when I was in a large gathering where I took note of it, and I was really appreciative of how many historical gambesons I saw there.
Yeah.
And I like that. I want to encourage that.
One thing, if I were running a tournament, this is just me, they did not require leg protection. I would, nobody got hurt in the legs, thankfully. And yes,
I got hurt in my leg.
You got hurt,
but that was because the guy hit me in the calf.
Okay, well yeah, back of the leg is different. I would absolutely force shin protection because I don't want to see someone get a broken shin. The thought of it grosses me out. Like, I don't care if you hate leg protection. I'm not seeing broken shins. It's gross. Where, like, it's just leg protection. Like, somebody had just one of the thin, like, spez just protects, like, part of your shin.
Yeah.
Like, that's better than, like, that doesn't slow you down to anything. I don't understand why people don't do it. If you, good on you for being brave, but I will never fight for I'm not gonna fight.
Yeah, catcher's guards or something.
Unless,
like, it's readily
dagger,
available.
no one's gonna go for my leg or something. But tournament, I'd absolutely get shin protection. I'm glad no one got hurt, but man, it was making me nervous.
There were a couple people with very light protection, and I was like, one of them had the officer's jacket that I had that's thin and no leg protection, and I was just like, this longsword, you're gonna get hurt.
They even said at the beginning of the tournament, I'm not gonna require it, but you know, if you get hit, don't be mad at your opponent. But I'm not gonna hold your hand, so you have to have leg protection.
So that was noteworthy.
Yeah,
cool.
Luckily, no one got hurt. So yeah, longsword.
One thing I kind of realized slowly, and then this tournament kind of solidified it. I fight differently with my longsword. I fight very, very stab oriented, and I didn't expect it because some of them were, even the judge came up to me after one of my matches and said, "Hey, it's good to see people actually using some thrusting techniques in here." And I kind of didn't realize it before then, but apparently most of the people were doing a lot of cutting and slashing, and I was not. I was doing stabs, and successfully.
Yes.
But I had to.
I started doing more thrusts too. I've been doing that for the last couple months or so. It's easy. I think it's easier to block a cut than it is to bind and stab at someone. Because, I mean, when you're in the bind, your sword's close enough, you twist it, and they have to backpedal away. I found a few times I would go straight for someone, and the first thing they would do is back up, and I could tell, like, they weren't sure what to do. They got very defensive. I have found, thrusting, winding and thrusting has really, really caught people off guard. I wasn't good as thrusty as you. I did a lot of the more like spare how hit him from one side, hit him from the other until you kind of get him. I tried to do more of this kind of the downward.
Yeah, the
sword.
Yeah. And you know what? You got a few compliments too on your fighting.
Which fighting?
All of it.
Longsword.
Well, I think there was just generic, like you're sidestepping specifically.
Yeah, someone said like one or two people said my footwork was really nice, which I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really nice to get somebody. We also got complimented on our
pants,
on our outfits, which were great. We had matching. We had black gambesons. We had blue Landsknecht, like 1500 style pants, and then matching mismatched stockings.
Yes.
Which was we looked great. I hope there's a picture of us out there somewhere. That was fantastic, and that was the whole point of us getting the matching pants. I thought that was fantastic.
Longsword, I think I did the best, and I'm gonna guess I might have comments. I won most of my matches. I think if I had to guess, I might have come in second on my pool.
Yep.
Possibly third. It's hard to know because you might take a double, too many doubles, and then you're down so many points. You might be lower in the pool than someone you just defeated. I think I did well. Aaron from Summerline, we fought. He ended up beating me. He was the one who moved on, which I'm like, okay, I'm fighting Aaron. He's good. He's been this longer. He's probably gonna win. But I held my own, so that made me happy. I was really happy with how I did longsword.
Just to state how this works. There were roughly 8 pools of roughly 5 people each, and everyone in a pool fought everyone in the pool.
6 at least.
6, somewhere around there.
At least, yeah.
Just everyone in that group of people fought everyone else in that group of people in one bout.
You get a lot of fights, which is great.
And then from each one of those roughly 8 pools, there's one victor who then goes on to the next round of like 2 pools, and then that goes to the finals. So it was a unique kind of almost, what do you call it? Where there's grids,
Not tournament, bracket?
Bracket. It was kind of brackety.
Yeah.
But in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
What's Raptar saying?
So you guys just did longsword and messer. What other weapons did you use?
We also did our third tournament, which was messer with buckler. With
yes.
buckler. Should we move on to that tournament? I don't think there's too much more to say about longsword.
I will say the longsword fights are just beautiful. Better, don't show. I would say, I know you show the students in your longsword level 4 some swordfish. I would say also show them the Armizare.
Yes.
Be like, this is fencing. This is real fencing. One thing I noticed that I learned from longsword, I want to work on my speed with strikes a bit. So that's all I'll say. For anything you that you learned, or
nothing especially. I mean, just people did well, and I liked it, and I felt good about it. There are some people who felt bad, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally understand, because people work hard for this. The only thing I can state is just, it's bad to go in, no matter how much you practice, no matter how hyped you are, it's bad to go into a tournament hoping to do well.
I think my bracket, I think there was another guy who was talking to, actually before the bracket, who said he'd been in HEMA for like a year and a half. I'm like, okay, so you're kind of newer too. He came from Denver, which was cool.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, like, well, that's cool. We're kind of the same skill level. We're going to be fighting each other. This is great. And we had a great match. I had another guy who I think I beat come after me. He was just so hyped. That was a great match. That was a great match. I'm like, thank you, dude.
Yeah.
The sportsmanship again.
It's great
was
sportsmanship.
Fantastic.
Great.
Excellent people there. And that's what it's about. It's like, have fun. Just, I really love that. The longsword, I think I did really well. I had some great matches, great opponents. So I'm, really happy with how the longsword went.
And so the third tournament.
Yes.
So they had sword in one hand, longsword, and then sword in one hand plus offhand. And so you saw a huge variety of weapons, because people could now mix and match.
Huge variety.
So, okay. What you could, from the options, there were essentially, or at least the ones that were there, in terms of the swords, you could do a rapier, side sword, arming sword.
Whatever you could do in the original.
Yeah.
The sword, like sword in one hand only. I think any of those.
Master Dussac, kind of standard ones. And then in your offhand, the options were a shield, which is a rodella, like a round shield.
Big old one.
A buckler of various varieties, or a parrying dagger.
Guess what the most popular one in our pool was?
Yeah, so...
No, we were in separate pools.
We were in
pool.
Yeah.
I got lucky.
You got lucky. The most popular one in my pool was the big-ass freaking round rodella.
And rapier.
And rapier. Which
everybody had that.
Everyone.
Except for Dan.
Yeah, except for Dan. So Dan is another person, one of my old students, who basically has now gone and done his own independent thing, and is now the turn to for local buckler stuff.
I always tell people he's the buckler guy.
He's the buckler guy. You want to learn sword and buckler? Go see Dan.
We were joking before, like, we should bring a Rotello.
Yeah, we should just
do a Rotello and a buckler or a rapier. No one could beat us. Everybody did that.
Everyone did it. And I was, oh shoot, I just missed my exit. No, I didn't.
Here you go.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Alright.
Kind of. Whatever. Oh well.
I said we could put the voice thing on.
I know, it's my fault. No, we're good.
Anyway, we were joking like him. We should bring like a rapier and a Rotello. I think you were saying like on the Discord, people were like, rapier and Rotello, it's so...
Yeah, people were encouraging me not to bring a rodella because it was so cheap, so I didn't. We brought Messer and Talhofer buckler, which is a really kind of unique, like, angled buckler, not a round buckler, but kind of...
You know what dogs, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I guess it's recorded. People watch it later, maybe.
I was going to see... I might have one of my... I'm not going to grab it. We'll post it later.
Yeah. I've got a few videos on the YouTube channel showing off the bucklers, so...
Yeah.
But in any case, it was unique. We were the only ones there with it. I saw one other guy with kind of a wavy buckler, but most of the other ones were just your standard round buckler or a rotella, and one guy in my pool had an arming sword with a or not an arming sword, I'm sorry, rapier and parrying dagger.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. Unfortunately, all of our techniques that we were learning were against a buckler.
No,
and
Rotello.
No, the techniques we were we're against a buckler. So we go against these guys with one, super long reach that we already have a disadvantage with our messers, and two, a super big shield that we have no idea how to get around because it's not out here, it's this huge strap to your arm thing.
Yep.
So, disadvantage there. I personally think I fought the least well in that.
You gave it a good go.
I tried. Eventually, I just started hitting people in the legs because that was the only thing I could do.
You should.
But
That's a technique. Hit him in the leg.
You're right.
That's one day he says you'll go for the leg or the closest stomach thing.
And the other thing that I did another technique, a historical technique in that.
Yes.
Where a guy had a rapier and he was stabbing, and so with your buckler and your buckler foot forward, you step backwards and kind of catch their thrust on your rapier, on your buckler, and then you hit their forearm that they have now extended to try to stab you. And that was kind of cool.
The fact that you pulled it off, that makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
Again, we knew we weren't gonna probably win, but I think if you can see you pulled off that technique in the tournament against a rapier, it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's neat. I think it's good to be able to go into a fighting style or fighting setting and just actually use techniques instead of just go for speed.
Yep.
What were your thoughts?
I was gonna say, you did at least fight Dan, who used a buckler
Yep.
and sword. So it was a good match. It's like, oh, yay, two similar sized weapons and bucklers, so that was nice. I got lucky. I think I had one Rotello and rapier, who that guy might have won the bracket. They're my pool. I'm not sure. I think so.
Oh, the guy with the black and white?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he won. I think everybody else either had... One guy had, I think, a rapier, a dagger. I might be wrong. Yeah, my pool.
Maybe. I know you had an arming sword in Rodella guy.
Okay, maybe.
I think he was the one who beat him.
Okay.
We've got it recorded. We'll find it.
Yeah. Most of the people were buckler and sword. I found a nice tall guy who was very, very nice. I think I beat him. And you were talking about, like, you had said something, and I was hoping you weren't gonna give away my strategy of just going for his legs, because it's like.
I said you're used to fighting a tall person.
Oh yeah. And I didn't want to say I'm used to fighting a tall person. I just go for their legs.
I was like, oh.
That was I think I went under him a lot.
You gotta. That guy was taller than me.
Oh yeah. I think against tall people with shield kind of have a little bit of an advantage, honestly. If it's headshots only, then no advantage. But he was really nice. He studied some I-33. Talked to him. I think. Someone from Ars Glad Eye. I think I won a few.
Oh, you did. You got Katina from Ars Glad Eye.
Yeah.
That was a fun match to watch.
I think I might have done that technique, the buckler and the sword against. So I was happy with my pool in that one because again I didn't get stuck with all buckler or like Rotellos. So I got kind of lucky in my bracket that I got good fights. And again, it wasn't about winning, but it's kind of nice when you can fight someone who's got, that you're on equal footing with, because you just have a better exchange, a better fight. It's a little bit more fun.
Yeah, you take the advantage in the weapon type out so you can see the competition of skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, just because someone has a rapier doesn't mean it's not superior. Like, it has weaknesses too. But at the same time, humans can only react so fast. So there's a reason they brought big shields to war, not little bucklers.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
So there are a lot of cool things. One other thing I think...
I was going to say one thing.
Go ahead.
I did expect other people to bring Dahlhofer bucklers.
Yeah.
No one did.
No one brought Dahlhofer bucklers.
I'm like, oh, sweet. We're the only one with the Dahlhofer bucklers. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
I like that.
I was hoping that there would be more of a variety of offhand stuff, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that is kind of neat, because this is a tournament with people from across the nation coming by for it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of unifying. You see your old friends. I mean, a lot of my former students were there competing.
There's the guy who was in with Trent from
Oh, Trent was there.
Battle
He
Creek
is
who
now.
moved to Lansing and is with the.
Yeah, he's now with Lansing Longsword Guild. He helped out at Grand Rapids HEMA Society. A whole bunch of my former students were there too, and it's just so nice to see them kind of graduate and flourish and stay with this.
Rob made it down.
Rob, Dan, Shane, Aaron, you, Mark, just so many, and it was so nice to see that that they're still doing this independently, and I love it.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, and Aaron made it to the second rounds in longsword, and Mark made it to the second round in offhand. So yeah, good on those guys. Yeah, and it was just nice to kind of have that. I know these people kind of thing. So always go to a tournament with friends. Don't go by yourself because it can get kind of awkward and kind of lonely.
I was gonna say not like you can. I liked having you there. I liked having people I knew. I actually liked having Aaron in my pool because I knew him.
And Cam too in my pool.
Oh yeah, even having Cam, I'm like, it's kind of nice. I know Cam.
Oh, and in my longsword pool there was the Brian guy.
You knew him? I knew him.
I didn't know him, but what happened was
he was super nice.
He knew me, or at least yeah. He came up to me before the fight and took he took his mask off, so I took mine off, and he was like, "Aren't you Jerry?"
He was so nice. He is a super nice guy.
Awesome.
He before the match, he was like, I just want everyone to know my rounded tip is different. It's like metal. If you're not okay with me fighting like this, please let me know. I took his Lichtenauer class at Sparbecue. It was really good. I saw him go into the full position at one point in the early match. I'm like, Jerry, I learned that.
Oh, he gave me the heads up.
He's gonna flick your hand, which is a great technique that I've actually started using in longsword.
But he didn't use that against me, at least that I noticed.
Yeah.
But I did see him do it in other fights.
Yes.
But it was cool because we were both instructors at Sparbecue, so we kind of had that connection, and it was just nice because that kind of niceness should be encouraged by everyone.